This is Tantor with a recap of Georgia Tech's exciting 30-16 victory over Wake Forest at Wake Forest. Well, as we always make things about Tantor, it is Tantor's universe. Puts us right back on track with my futures for Georgia Tech. So, only thing I lost this weekend was the over-under. I thought that Georgia Tech's defense would be the defense we saw in the first 3 weeks and not the one we saw tonight. And I thought Wake Forest defense would be exactly the Wake Forest defense that we saw. With Wake Forest, this is not a shot at Wake Forest. It's a great school. You actually have academic standards like we do. Most schools don't, especially in the SEC. And you were playing in the bakery league against cupcakes the first 3 weeks. You were a fraud. So, you've been exposed. Sorry. Not really. So, Georgia Tech obviously spent the week tackling to the ground. Only saw 2 missed tackles. A miracle. If we would have tackled against Louisville the way we tackled against Wake Forest, we're 3-1 right now. No doubt. But it took us to the 4th week to decide to tackle. Great. Coaching did a much better job this week. Obviously, they lit a fire under the defensive line with 8 sacks. They shortened the rotation on defense, especially in the defensive backfield. And it made a huge difference. The defense, now granted, they weren't going against Ole Miss out there. That Ole Miss talent. No, they were going against equal talent. Makes a big difference. But the defense was fantastic with having 5 turnovers. One of them was special teams. So defense had 4 turnovers, special teams had 1. That's the difference in the game. Bottom line. So we'll get to what I liked, what I didn't like. What I liked was the coaching. Complimentary coaching. Slowed the game down. Kept the defense off the field a lot. It made a huge difference. Now, we didn't have the gaudy numbers that Haynes King typically puts up, but, I'll take a win over Haynes King throwing the ball for 300 yards and running for another 150 and we lose. So, this game plan, I'll take when we get the W. But what I liked, Kennard on defense. We're going to have some defensive players in what I liked, which hasn't happened all season. Now, Kennard did have some penalties and some shaky things that kept the drive alive, but we'll get to the penalties in what I didn't like. Because Kennard, he wasn't guilty of a lot of this stuff. He needed a better defense attorney. But Kennard had 4 sacks. That's a season for most players. He was playing the entire game in the Wake backfield. Congratulations. You're the first defensive player that I've had in what I liked all season, and you freaking deserve it. The second defensive player I've had was Biggers. Biggers was here, he was there, he was freaking everywhere. Biggers had a couple fumble recoveries. I mean, the guy was just a beast in the middle of that line, and he made plays all over the place. Again, tackling on defense was excellent. I only saw 2 missed tackles. It was fantastic. I loved it. It's sensational. Hey, we have to throw an offensive player in there. Haynes, running back, tough runner. Had the presence of mind at the end of the game just to run, take another couple seconds off the clock there at the goal line before stepping in for the touchdown. Love that kid. What he does, love it. Wide receiver Singleton, again, he's a superior athlete, best athlete out on the field. He's fantastic. He made some incredible plays and almost had another touchdown there when Haynes King underthrew him, and how he got back to the ball to almost catch it. He didn't, so that doesn't count, but the effort and what he can do is amazing. We're actually going to give credit to the special teams. Special teams was fantastic tonight. They got a turnover on a muffed punt, and then isn't it nice to have a field goal kicker? It's just, okay, we're going to go for a field goal. We make it. When does that happen? Hasn't happened since Buckner. It's been forever. So it's really nice that a freshman, Burr, stepped up and was 3 for 3 in field goals. Loved all that. It was absolutely fantastic. All 3 phases of the game played well. And then the final thing that I just absolutely like that they really deserve credit is the offensive line. They've gotten better every week. And this was a complete performance. They handled Wake Forest defensive line. They handled them easily. Just last season, at this stage, I said the offensive line was the worst offensive line I've ever witnessed, and any coach that put a quarterback to play behind it is guilty of a crime. This offensive line is playing extremely well. They're opening up holes to run through. They're keeping their quarterback clean, giving him time. Now, the coaching staff can't ask them to pull and do things out in space because they don't do that. But drive blocking, they can do it and do it well. Pass blocking, as long as you're not back there running around everywhere and taking 7-step drops, they can keep you clean. And the coaching staff, they played complementary football, so they were running the ball up the middle and they were having short 3- and 5-step drops. Makes your offensive line that much better. And these guys were playing excellent, and they had an excellent game, and they deserve credit for that. All right, what I hated. All right, I'm hesitant on this. We had some good plays by the linebackers because the linebackers did have some sacks. And like number 3, he had 2 sacks and an assist and caused a fumble on one of the sacks. All right, that's incredible play. He needs to start. 44, he had a initial tackle and an assist. He needs to start. Now, 13 had his, last week was his best game. This game was better than that. He had a sack, which is good, and 2 assists. So he wasn't a complete detriment. However, the linebackers were easily blocked today, and the big plays that Wake Forest was able to get were on the ground, and then that caused some problems. So it's a mixed bag there, but this was by far the best game for the linebackers there. All right, really what I hated for this game was the third quarter. Every game we come out in the third quarter, and I don't know if the team's flat. I don't know if it's because the other team is making adjustments to what we're doing. Nothing works. And I thought the play calling was very conservative in the third quarter, and that hurt us. But we didn't do anything in the third quarter again. And this is becoming a real bad habit. We have some great second quarters. Third quarters, they come out flat. So Coach Key needs to change some stuff up because the third quarter's not good. No bueno. All right. We'll give number 10. Number 10 wouldn't be playing on my team because I don't think he does anything well. He had a couple big PIs called against him, although one was not PI. And he was beaten quite frequently for touchdowns. So he just didn't play very well until the fourth quarter with Wake going in for the tying score. And he reads a play, steps in front of a wide open receiver, and gets a big interception with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left to save the game and help Georgia Tech go down the field and ice it with a late touchdown. All right? So even the thing that I don't like, the kid came through and made a play. Congratulations. He made a play, a big play, and helped win that game. So he came through and did that way. But the thing that was bad in this game was officiating. And even though, I am an official, I try to leg off of the striped shirts, but this was very, very biased against Georgia Tech. You can notice, if you're watching it on TV, that if they don't show a replay of it, it was probably a bad call. But there's this magic thing that we can do with technology. We can rewind it and watch it and see if we can find the offending penalty. Now, some of them were good. Like Kennard's face mask. Yeah, that's legit. We had a PI in the second half. That was legit. But we had a lot of PIs that were not legit. and they were just, hey, we're gonna. I mean, Johnson didn't even touch the kid. When you go it back, we had a big third down offside call against Kennard. Watch the play. He's not lined up offside. He doesn't jump. Where do they come up with that? Holding calls on Leonard every time we ran outside. I couldn't find them. So if somebody can show it, show it. I didn't see him. A lot of fantasy calls from the officials. And they tended to be in big spots to keep drives alive for Wake and to stop Georgia Tech drives. So you can draw your own conclusions with that. But the guys in striped shirts had a horrible night if they were trying to be neutral. And I think that's very questionable. This was a great win. It really was. I mean, you could say, oh, it's just Wake Forest. No. Wake Forest has a good program. They're on the same level we are, or we're on the same level they are, because they've had a better last 5 years than we have. So this gets us back on track to get us our 6 wins to go to a bowl game, because that's the whole expectation this year. Go to a bowl game. We have to win 5 games to get over the Vegas line on futures, and that's very important for Tantor. And going to bowl games is very important for Tantor too on that. This was huge. It's good to see the effort. We've got Bowling Green at home next week. We need to come back out with the same level of play, because the level of play was up. There was a lot of effort out there. The coaching staff needs to do the same good job they did this week, next week when we play a lesser opponent. So let's see what happens there. Tantor out.